Good Friday morning. Steve Marchand here, doing a little bit of work on state politics and a new segment that I hope will become a regular part of your political viewing and consumption. It's called 5 Minutes of Your Time, where I take some of the work that I'm doing in my travels around the state, focusing on the trend lines and the most important political and policy issues facing New Hampshire in the coming year and trying to distill it into short segments so you don't have to watch the whole hour and a half every time. This is called 5 Minutes of Your Time, and we're starting with Bedford, where I visited this past Monday and is one of the most important communities politically in the state and truly a microcosm of the country. So let's just go at it. Democrats' hopes nationally depend on places like Bedford. Why do I say that? Well, the reason Joe Biden won in 2020 was not so much because he regained voters in blue collar communities and cities. Indeed, he even lost ground among non white voters, particularly men and non college educated non white voters. However, he continued to make big gains in the suburbs, and that's a place where Democrats have been able to counteract their losses in other demographic subgroups in the voting population. There are places like Bedford, as well as Amherst and Northampton and Stratham. And so, what happens in Bedford says a lot about what's happening throughout New Hampshire and nationally. These trend lines are highly predictable. What we know about socioeconomic trends, particularly those above the educational median, those above the median income level, are moving towards the Democratic Party. Those below those two metrics are leaving the Democratic Party, going towards the Republican Party. So, what does that mean? Suburbs like Bedford are moving towards the Democratic Party. You can see towns like that. They have been moving over the last 10 years from Republican voters to Democratic voters. Bedford is no different. It started as an R 6.5 more points Republican in its voting behavior than the state average. And then in 2022, it moved 2+ points towards Democrats. And that means my new number, my new partisan voter index, takes it from 6.5 to under 6 in one election cycle. That's a big move. And it means that Bedford and similar communities are becoming increasingly competitive. That's important for Democrats because blue collar communities are moving away from the Democratic Party. Coos County, Claremont, Rochester, southwestern New Hampshire, any place with blue collar ethos, voters, socioeconomic trend lines, those are counteracting the suburban gains that Democrats are making. And you can see some of those communities here. Here's why it matters. The PVI, Partisan Voter Index, that really gets at the leaning of a given town or district relative to the state's performance in those same elections. You can see historically any district between D+6 and R+6 within 6 points of the state's voting behavior tends to be relatively competitive. As they move closer towards zero, bellwether communities, they become extremely competitive. Bedford, which a few years ago was near the right side of this at around 10, R+10, is now under R+6. And once you get under 6, it means things are really happening. This is why Bedford has a dynamic situation going on. That'll be important for Democrats because in order to get to a majority, a bare majority of 201 out of 400 House seats, it means that all 169 House seats with a blue PVI, virtually all of them will have to be won by Democrats because Democrats will have to win 30 plus red seats, those light pink ones you see there, in order to be at the majority level, even at the barest numbers. So if you lose very many blue seats, it means you have to go deeper into the red numbers. Bedford has gone from the medium red, is moving down closer to the light red very quickly. These are the kind of towns Democrats are going to have to win to get back the House majority. Quick note on the state Senate. Very similar. There are 24 state Senate seats. 16 of them have a Republican PVI. Only 8 have a Democratic PVI. You can see the Democratic seats are generally very safe on this chart. All 8 are currently held by Democrats, and the 2 least Republican ones are also currently held by Democrats. And that means it is a 14-10 GOP state Senate. In order for Democrats to take back the state Senate, they will have to win all 8 blue seats and 5 of the 6 light red ones. The District 9, that includes Bedford, is indeed one of those. And without winning the Bedford seat, it's hard to imagine Democrats taking back the state Senate. A couple quick notes on Bedford's House seat. 7-seat district, 2 of those 7 currently held by Democrats. No House district with a PBI anything like Bedford's, its size, its redness, is moving towards Democrats with even half the speed that Bedford currently is. You can see it's moved D.52. It's moved more than half a point in a Democratic direction just in the last 2 years. That's a huge number. It was the reddest district to elect a Democrat in 2022. In fact, it elected 2 of them. The PACO score, more on another day about that, it basically teases out the part of the election performance of a candidate that you can attribute directly to the skills or weaknesses of the candidate, her or himself, as compared to macro factors like the economy, presidential approval rating, and so forth. That PACO of 4.70 is very good. Anything above 3 is actually a pretty solid score in my metric. And you can see that out of 182 competitive House districts, the Bedford district was the 31st highest PACO score. That means that high quality candidates are being recruited. It also suggests that these underlying trends are happening with great velocity. The state Senate race I mentioned earlier, District 9, Senator Ricciardi ran against Matt McLaughlin, a last-minute entrant in 2022. He gained some steam at the end, but despite the late start and limited resources, he lost that race to an incumbent by only 4.5 points. It is incredibly important for Democrats to win this seat if they want any chance of getting the majority. There is no path to 13 for Democrats without flipping this seat. Matt McLaughlin is running again, and this will be an incredibly closely watched race. That's all I've got here. We'll have more of these videos. If you got any feedback, you can send me an email at movethegoalpostnh.com. You can also find a lot more information about our state's politics and data like this on the website. And you can also, if you want to get more videos like this, please subscribe to my new YouTube channel. It's at Steve Marchand NH. We'll be trying to put these up at least a couple of times a week, and your feedback may help me figure out which ones to prioritize. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you have a great weekend. See you soon.